Hello all, welcome back to Learning Partner. If you are new, please do subscribe. This is another channel where you can directly connect with me. We have around 1000 plus members already who are working. We take live coding sessions and everything. To just get notified about those sessions, please do join this group. So in this video, we are going to complete a small application that is employee management app. Now, I will be not focusing on what new things we have, just the basic Angular, what things are there from Angular 2 plus 6, 11, 12, up to 16, whatever you know. This is not a video where we are going to focus new things because most of the projects still we have are with the older version only. Again, there is so much time that companies are going to convert those projects into latest. Again, they are converting, but still they are going with the older folder structure only, means with the app model, not with the standalone they are going. Fine. So whatever things we should know, if you are a fresher, this is the right video for you. All the things I will be covering from basic. We are going to do the form and the validation, API integration, dependent dropdown. So while creating the database, I have created a scenario where we will need a dependent dropdown. Directives we are going to see, pipe we are going to see. Fine. Now, first I will explain the tables, what tables we have. So let me just search employee. So you can see we have three tables: department table, designation table, and the employee app. So if I show you the department table, in department table, we just have department ID and the department name. So in this table, we are going to store the department. I'm explaining database because you should know what database is there. After that, you get the API, then you work on the Angular part, correct? So this is my employee department table. After that, we have designation. So in designation table, we have department ID as a foreign key. Let's say I created a sales department. So inside that, I will have, let's say, telecalling as a, what do we say, designation, again, lead, something, right? Child parent relationship will be there. For one parent, we will have multiple children. Okay. So in designation, we have a department ID as a foreign key. This is nothing but the dependent thing I'm talking about. Then we have the employee dropdown. Sorry, employee table. Sorry. So in employee table, you can see employee ID is there. This is our primary key, full name, email, basic things are there. Date of joining, department ID, designation ID. So these are our foreign keys. So here we need to show the drop down. Employee type. Is it a, what do we say, a contract basis or permanent? So we are going to have a static drop down over here. Salary, again, we will have just a normal. For city also, again, we can have a static drop down. Okay. Now these are the things we have. Now, one more thing we can do. Okay, let it be. So these are the table I have. After that, for this table, I have created the API. Those APIs I have hosted on the freeapi.com. Okay. So if you visit freeapi.com, you just have to go to project APIs. And here you can see on the employee app, you will be able to find all the API. So get department. Okay. Just click on it, test endpoint. So you can see at the bottom. Wait. So you can see currently I have inserted two records. There are no API provided for the CRUD operation of department and designation. I will be inserting some data. You just have to use that API in the employee form. So in department, we just have two department for now created. I will be creating in front of you only. So two department are there. Just like that, all the APIs are over here to get the employee, to create new employee, to get a single employee by ID, to update the employee and to delete the employee. This is get department API, and this is get designation by department ID. Whatever the department we select, we need to show the designation. We need to show the designation by department ID. So that depend on drop-down scenario. Fine. So these are the APIs which we are going to use. Now let's start with the Angular project. So what I will do, I will go to a folder Angular 19, and here I will open a command prompt cmd ng new. Then our project name, let's say employee app, just a name I'm giving, enter. So once this is a command to create a new project, after that it will ask you like, do you need a, what CSS framework you are looking for, CSS, SAS, less, right? So I'm simply going with CSS. Just a minute. Yeah. So you just have to press enter. Then it will ask you another question like, do you need to enable server-side rendering? So currently we are not focusing on the server side. So we will simply say no. Once I press no, it will create the project. And after project creation, you can see It is saying installing packages via npm. Okay. Now this process will take some time. Let's open the project which we have created. So let's open a new Visual Studio. Open folder. Now, if you remember D19 and employee app. So this is our folder. So this folder particularly you need to open. So if you see currently we don't have node module folder over here. So that's what happening. So it is installing whatever the packages we need for Angular app to run, that it is installing from our npm, and it will be, once installation is done, once it is downloaded successfully, it will create a node module folder over here. So what packages it is installing? Whatever the packages we have said over here. So when you create an Angular project, by default, some packages are there over here in the package.json. So these are the packages it's currently downloading. So once it's done, then we will be able to run the project. Okay, for now. So till the installation is going on. Now in SRC folder, app folder is there. In app folder, I will be creating one component that we will say, just a folder I'm creating just to create something. So in this folder, I'm going to create my component. So as I said, it's a small application, just employee management. So what component we need? A component to show the list of the employees, and one more component to have a form. So just two components I'm going to need. So ng generate component, then component name. So first component name will be employee list. Enter. So this is the first component I'm creating. So you can see now node module folder is there. Let's check the command prompt. It's still going on. Let's give it some time. So first component is created in the package in pages folder. You can see first folder we have got. One more component we need to create. Either you can write this complete, or you can use the shortcut also. ng generate for G, C for component, new, or employee form. Fine. So two components we are going to need that we have created. Okay. So you can see two components we have created. Yeah. Now see, after that package installation, whatever going on, so you can see successfully initialize git and package installed successfully. And now node module folder is ready. So whatever the packages we had, that got installed properly. Now in this project, I'm going to use Bootstrap as a for the CSS framework. So now we have to install the Bootstrap. To install the Bootstrap, let's go to npm site. Let's search Bootstrap. Whatever the latest package we have, that we will install. So latest package is 5.3.3. So how do we install this package into our Angular project? So this is the command npm I bootstrap. I stands for install. Let's copy it. Now we have to open a new terminal on our project folder. So plus, you can see new folder as open. Enter. So just pay attention. Currently in the dependencies, we don't have an entry for Bootstrap. Once I install this, you will see one entry added over here. Let's see. See, it has added this entry. So whenever you install any package, whatever the package you install, that package name along with whatever the version you are using, that will be added over here. So package.json will contain all the entries of the packages, all the list of the packages, whatever you are going to use in your Angular project. Fine. You install the Bootstrap, but you cannot use it still. You need to add, like how we in normally while working with website also, we download, and in the page we add a link of that. So just like that same in angular.json, we need to add a link in CSS section. Okay. Let me just get that URL. So that will be like this, just a folder path of in node from the node module. So over here, fine. Make sure you add the external link section first. At the end, you should have a style.css entry so that if you are overriding some CSS, it should not break, right? So style.css should be your last entry. Fine. So our angular.json work is done. Package.json is work is also done. Now we can run the project. Now how the API which you are using of mine, let me just showcase you which port number is allowed. So this is the API project. I'm not supposed to show you. Allow course. Let me see. So 4204. No. Okay, so I didn't added any validation on the port number. So you can run on 4200 only. So ng serve. So ignore the part what I discussed right now. So you have to run the project now. So ng serve is the command which will run your Angular project. Enter. So now it will compile your Angular project and it will host your project on 4200 port. So you can see it is saying to access, you need to visit this. Let's copy, follow link, and you can see by default Angular app is running. So this is coming, this is some default page we get. So this page is nothing but app component. So in app component, you get to see whatever the content you are able to see now, it is coming from over here. Let's get rid of it. And if I say H1, hello, let's save. So now you can see, hello, we have got. So we are able to successfully run the Angular project. Now, so as I said, we are going to have two components. So obviously we are creating a project. So there cannot be any project without the navbar. So let's use the Bootstrap navbar. Let's visit Bootstrap site. Bootstrap W3. It is going over here. I just need a simple Bootstrap navbar. So let's go it over here. We have this navbar. Let's use this simple one, the gray one. So this is the Bootstrap navbar. I'm copying it and I'm pasting it over here. So app component is my parent component. Again, one more thing. See, if you are a fresher now, and if you are going for the machine test, once your theoretical part is done, obviously almost all companies will ask you to complete some CRUD application or something. So I'm I'm copy pasting it, right? But you have to learn these classes at least for a navbar, basic navbar. Or even if you are not able to use the navbar, a simple anchor tag will also learn. They won't ask you to, as an Angular developer, they want to see you how good you are at the programming, not at the website development. So even if you don't remember the classes, or you are not supposed to copy paste from the W3, right? Some companies will allow, some companies won't allow you. So at least have a normal anchor tag, that will also fine. Because what do we need? Why do we need navbar? Just for the redirection. So simple anchor tag will also work. But if it is possible, just remember these classes, like whatever we need. Navbar, expand SM. Just navbar is also enough, then container, then for UL we have navbar, right? Just like that. Remember if it is possible. After navbar, you need the router outlet. So router outlet is a directive which is responsible to load the activated component route. Okay. Doesn't matter. Now, whatever the things I'm discussing, it is same from Angular 2 plus, either 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 17 and to 19 also. Same is there. Angular is still same. Angular JS was a different technology, but from Angular 2, everything is there. Nothing is removed yet. So yeah, in with each version, some things are different, but basic concept are same only. Fine. So after navbar, let's add a container. And in container, we will have router outlet. So as I said, whatever the activated route is there, that route will be visible. That route's component will be rendered over here. Fine. Now, we have created component. We added Bootstrap. We added navbar, router outlet they also added. Now we need to create the route because we created component. Next thing we have to create the route. So once we create the project, we got app route.ts. So this is the new project with standalone. So this is now constant file. Previously, it used to be a module file. So if you create a project with older version, means before 17, it was a module file. Even if with 16, with 17 plus also, if you while creating project, if you say ---- standalone file, so it will create the folder structure with older version with app module. But I didn't cover, no, I didn't provided that standalone. So it has created a project with standalone. So in standalone, we have a constant file that is route. So here we have to create the routes. Now, as we have to create the route. So it's a web application, but there are going to be multiple pages, multiple components. So by default, we need to render some particular page, right? So we need an empty route, means default route. Path will be empty and we will redirect to on list route, and path match strategy we need full. So this is my default route. If in the URL, when we run, if in the URL we don't have anything, so by default, it will redirect to the list route. Now we need the list route. So path list component. What component I need to open? Employee list. we can set a title also. You know that web page title, which will come in on your browser tab. EMP list. This is the title I'm setting. Second route for new employee. So new employee component, employee form component. Fine. Let's say these are the route we said, but let's say user tried something. Let's say employee list he tried in the URL. So we need a wildcard route also. So wildcard route will be like this. So path, if we don't add the wildcard route, you will have a console error. So path, wildcard route will be identified as 2 star. Then let's create a wildcard route component, means not found page. So we will create a short component, ng generate component, not found. See, these are very basic things. While completing project, I'm covering whatever possible topics are also there. So if user entered a route which is not there, so by it will redirect to our not found component. Okay. In not found, we will say page not found, check URL. Okay. Something message we have to showcase. Now, so we have created our route. Let's save all. Now we are running the project also by default 4200. So now you can see if I remove this, by default, you can see it is navigating to list and employee list component is visible also over here. But now, why it is not visible properly? Let's use something else. Let me use the dark one. It's very confusing that navbar is there or not. Let's use this. Let's remove this. Fine. So now you can see it is visible. If I, as I said, we have created wildcard route. If I say emp-list, I don't have a route with this name. So if I press enter, see, it has navigated to our wildcard route. If we don't have the wildcard route, we will our application will break. So that's the purpose of wildcard route. If someone try to access a route which is not there, it will navigate it to the wildcard route. Fine. Now, so by default, list component is coming. So routing is done. Oh, one more thing. So we have a navbar. So in navbar, we need the links also. So for in normal HTML, we use href to navigate, but in Angular, we have to use router link. So from standalone component, whatever you have to use, we have to import that. Previously, it was not like that. So if we are using router outlet, you need to import that. If you are using router link, you need to import that also. Then only you can use it. So router link slash my first route. So that will be list employee list. Okay. And one more route will be for new employee. Fine. We don't have another link. So let's remove and let's save and check if we are able to navigate. Employee list. See, we are able to navigate. Okay. See, URL is also changing and the component is also getting loaded properly. Fine. So routing part is done. Now we can move ahead for the component. Now, let's close it. So first component, list part we will complete. But we cannot complete the list part because if you check the Gate API, employee app, if you check the Gate all employee, you don't have any record right now. See, it's empty because we have not created. So first thing, we will complete the employee creation. Fine. Now, employee creation. So before starting the API, means before starting the CRUD operation, first we need to check the object. So if you see, this is the object what we need to pass. Employee ID, full name, email, phone number, gender, and so many things are there. Here, employee ID is my primary key. So normally while designing a form, we don't showcase primary key. Not just form. Whenever we work in an industrial project, we don't showcase a primary key anywhere. Not in the list, not in the form, anywhere. We don't showcase our primary key anywhere else. Fine. So in the form, we are not going to have this. Then we need remaining field, department ID and the designation ID. These are going to be a drop down because these are foreign key. So in the employee form, we are going to need the data from these two API. Fine. So first we will design the form. As we have installed the Bootstrap. So we will use the Bootstrap to design the form. So I will be using CRUD, Bootstrap CRUD to design it. So let's add a container fluid. Inside that, .card, .card, header, .bg, warning. Just a background color I'm adding. Here it will be new employee. Fine. After card header, we need card body. Card body. Okay. Now in card body, we need to design a form. So again, I will be using the row column grid structure. Call 3. So just check the form object, what we have, like that we will design. Okay. Now, so we have full name. So in the first row, we will just have the full name. So I will go with 4. We will need a label, name, and then we will need a text box. Input, type text, class, form-control. Let's add a placeholder also name. This is first row. After that, we need second row, dot call 3. Now, second row, what we can have? Email and the phone number we can have. Fine. So again, I'm copy pasting this email. Let's copy paste this row and phone. Fine. Then I will copy paste this row now. After that, what things we have? Gender. Okay. Gender and the date of joining we will have in a one row. Now gender. So we will go with male and female. So input type, radio we will have. With radio, we need the value tag also. Male. And after that, we need to showcase the value also. Male. And then we will have one more thing as a female. We don't need placeholder over here. Now we need this both radio button to act as a group. So name attribute should be same. So name attribute, we are going to need it over here also and over here also. So same property name we will pass, gender only. Fine. Then we have joining date, date of joining. So date of joining. So instead of text, we need a date calendar. We need a calendar. So that's why we will go with the date. Date of joining placeholder. Fine. After that, let's copy this, paste it. Now what we have? Department ID and the department designation ID. Now these are going to come from a different API. So we have to show the drop down. Okay. So it will be select department. Here we are going to have a drop down. So select. On select, we normally add form select class. Okay. Inside that, we are going to have an option. This option, we are going to get a dynamic from API call we are going to get. Currently, we are just designing a form. Department and designation. Fine. Then we need same thing copy paste. We have two more things. So we have employee type and the salary. Employee type is not coming from the API. It's a string value, but instead of keeping it a free text box, we will show a drop down, static drop down. Fine. So we need a drop down over here again. So I will copy this, paste it over here, and select type, either permanent or that, right? So by default, this is placeholder, select. Now this is a hard coded. So here only I can keep it. So value will be contract. Let's copy, paste it over here, and second will be permanent. Instead of having the free text field, we are just restricting user to select option from this. Then last thing is salary. So we will have salary, and salary we don't want to allow number, so we will keep character. So we will keep number salary. Let's save and let's check if your form is coming properly. New employee. So you can see form is coming, but color is not available to the NING. Okay, spelling mistake was there. Okay, so our form is coming, but we need a save and cancel button, right? Without that, our form won't be complete. So let me just copy this row one more time. So in the first button, we will have button class BTN. Let's say I will go with secondary. This will be for reset. And one more button I will need in the second column, that will be for save employee. Okay, here instead of secondary, I will use success class. Let's save. Fine. Let's add some spacing. PT3. We need this button in the center. So text center class I'm adding. Let's copy, paste. Let's save. Fine. So now you can see employee form is coming properly. Okay. Gender, I think we have added that form control. So we need to remove that. On form control class won't work on input type gender and the our what do we say checkbox. Okay. After label, we need a BR tag so that it will come in the next line. Fine. So now our form is coming properly. So you can see calendar is also coming. Now on click of save, we need to integrate the API. Fine. Fine. So after UI have been completed, so next thing will be, this is the object what we need to send along with the API. Now, when we talk about Angular, so from Angular 2 plus, we have two types of form, template form and the reactive form. Yeah. So now we have current version is Angular 19. In coming the next version, there is a possibility that we will get a signal based form. So we will have three types of form: template, reactive, and a signal based form. Currently also we can create a signal based form, but it's like custom code we write. But now Angular will bring up their own set of React form, which is built upon the signal. Fine. Now, but again, as I said, like I'm not going to cover the new thing. Just I want this video to be available so that every Angular developer, either you know the previous one or the next one, you should be familiar with. So that's what the focus. So we will go with the template. Okay, that's very basic. So this is our employee form. So whenever we do with the template form, this is the object, correct? So first we should create a class of it. So now in app folder, what I will do, I will create a folder that I will say model. Inside model folder, let's create a class or just a employee.ts, simple TS file. One more thing, considering if you are a fresher or even if I experience, whenever you are appearing for the machine test, always create class or interface. Don't use any, right? Even though if it's a small project now, and what do we say? Keep your folder structure very proper. That identifies you as a proper developer. Fine. Now in this .ts, we have to create a class. So export class employee. These are the properties we have in the employee. Let's remove this. This will be initialized with number. Let's do this like this. And wherever we have string, that we will initialize with data type string. Date of joining, I'm initializing with string only. Fine. Then fine. Now, if you see, we have created all the properties, but still it is giving error. So error is, it is saying like you have not initialized it. So since it's a class, we have an access of constructor. So in constructor, we normally initialize all the field, whatever we created above. So this dot employee ID, we initialize with 0 because it's a primary key. The remaining field like this. So again, I'm not skipping anything. So make sure you follow the same thing. You will be able to complete this project without any error. Okay. Just follow the same thing. We have employee tab is equal to empty. So you can see whatever the property name we are initializing, that error is going away for that particular thing. Phone. Then it is gender. Salary. 0. Fine. So this is how you create a class. Whenever you start the API integration, check what API object you need to send to the API. Just create a class of that. Whatever the properties we have along with the data type, you need to create it. We created a class. Now we have to go to the .ts of employee form over here. Now here we will create an instance of our object. So employee obj data type. Now here, instead of giving any, we have to provide a specific data type model, means our class name, employee. See, it is from model. Now this is a class, so we can initialize it by using new operator so that our constructor will execute and all the default value will get initialized. Fine. Now, so we have created our model. That model we have added as a data type over here. Now this object we can bind to our form. We are going to use template form. So we have to import forms module. If it is the old project, we have got app module. There you do this. But now this is a standalone component. So here we are doing it. Now, so what? Let me just open side by side. Let's open this. Now, wherever we have the control, means what are the input element we have there, we need to bind our ng model. So square bracket, round bracket, ng model, then our property name. So our property name is from our object, employee object. So employee object dot. So now see, once you press the dot, you get all the property intelligence. That's because you binded this variable with this particular class. So what are the properties you have that will come intelligence? Full name. Now let me, just to save the time, what I will do, I will search this and I will replace that with this. Fine. Here it will get twice. So let's remove that. Now this is for email. So let's bind email over here. This is for phone. So phone over here. Then gender. So here also we need to add. So we have for gender, we have two radio buttons. So both the places you need to bind the same thing, ng model. Fine. So whatever the value we select, that will get stored over here. Then this is for date of joining. Then here, let's copy, paste. So this is for department and this is for designation. Employee type also we need. So let's copy, paste over here. Last one is the salary and here employee type. Fine. So whatever the object we created, all our particular field we have binded to the form. Now, on click of save, we are going to do the API call integration. So let's write a click event on save employee. Let's create this function into our .ts. Again, so many things are going to come. We are just going with the basic. Once the basic completed, then we will move to some advanced thing. Now, in this function, we are supposed to do the API call. Now, in Angular project, we can do the API call integration by using fetch API, which is from JavaScript, or we can make use of the HTTP client library also. If you have to make use of HTTP client library, you need to go to your app config first. In app config, you can see provider array is there. Here, you need to register your provide HTTP client service like this. Okay. To make your API call, this is the first thing you need to do. Then in employee.component.ts, we will create an instance of employee service. Oh, sorry. We added our HTTP client into over here. Next thing, we can write API call function into our component as well, but that's not the right way. We should keep our component very lightweight. So we move our API call function, some utility function into our service. So now we will create a service. Now again in app folder, I will create a folder that will be services. Again, I'm repeating, make sure you follow the proper folder structure, right? Now let's open a terminal on this folder. Now we have to create a service. So ng generate service name will be employee. Fine. So it will create employee service. So if you can see, employee service has been created. Now, in this employee service constructor we have got, so private, we need to inject HTTP service. So HTTP client like this. Then we have to create the first function, create new employee, round bracket, curly bracket, enter. From this function, we are going to make the API call. And this function we are going to call from our component on the click of that save button. So while calling this function, we are going to pass the object. So that object, we need to catch it over here. What type of data we are going to get? Employee model only. So here we will add the data type. Then return. So whatever the API call return, whatever the response we have got from the API call, that we have to return it back to the component as well. So that's why return keyword. This dot HTTP, which API call? Post, round bracket, double quote. Here we need to pass the URL. So let's get the URL now. Let me just get the, yeah. So you can see up till now, this will be constant URL. So this common URL, I'm putting it into a local variable. Let's say API URL colon data type string is equal to this. This is the common part. After that, just the method name is going to change. So common part, I'm keeping it into a variable without, instead of repeating again and again. So over here, this dot API URL plus, now here you need to provide your method name. So for create new employee, the method name will be create employee. Let me just get the method name. So this is our method name will go over here. Fine. Then it's a post API. Post API needs two, post function needs two parameter, URL and the object, because what object you want to store. Post API we use normally to create new record. So this is the URL, but what object you are going to create, what record you are going to create. So that whatever the parameter you get, that you will pass it over here. So this is your normal API call function. Fine. So now we have created employee service. In employee service, we have created our first function. Now this employee service we need to inject in our employee component. So here from Angular 16, we have got something new, that is inject. So if we have to inject a service into a particular file, this was the older way. This is what we call dependency injection, registering this dependency into our constructor. The new thing is inject. So employee service is equal to inject. And what we need to inject? Our employee service. So what we written over here is similar to this. Okay. Now, in this function, we have to write the API call. So this dot employee service. Currently in employee service, we just have one function, create new employee. We need to pass the object. So this dot employee object. This object, nothing but you bind it to your form. So you will get the value over here. Then dot subscribe from bracket result colon. What type of you are getting? Employee model only response, employee. But see, here we are getting error because the return type of this, see the return type of create new employee, we said object. We didn't specify like particular model we are returning. So we need to provide a proper data type over here also. So colon, what type of data we are returning? Observable type of data. And employee model we are going to return single instance. So after post also, we need to provide the employee model. Okay, now you won't get the error. So this is our success call. If your API get if your API run into an exception or API is not working, so it will execute error block. Fine. So this is what your success block. If API call is success and if error, it will go over here. Here we will simply like alert. We will say API error and we will get the message in error dot error like this. Why it is saying like that? Plus. Okay, fine. And here, if it is success, we will say employee created. So these are the things we have done. Let's try now if we are able to create. Oh, again, I forgot one thing. So in our UI, we have this department ID and the designation ID. So here, this is static dropdown, right? So here we need to show the data we get from the department and from the designation. Fine. Let's just first insert some data into our database. So in department, I had inserted some data. Let me just open my database again. So database name is project API DB. This is the new server which I have purchased recently. Now, if you see the department, we have sale and marketing, two department we have. Now, in this respective department, we need to create the designation also. So sorry, the design mode we need to insert the data. Now, so for in sales department ID is one. In sales department, I need to create the designation. So designation ID will be primary key. So I need to make it 0. Department ID 1, that is for sale. Let's say in sales, we will say telecaller. It says sale lead, just a designation I'm creating. Again, in the sale department, we will say sale manager. Fine. So in sales department, we have two designations, sale lead and sale manager. Once I refresh, you can see ID has been automatically added. Now for department 2, that is marketing. So marketing ID is 2. Let's say Facebook team. Lead. Then again 2. Employee, normal employee. We are creating designation for the marketing department. Let's say Insta lead, Insta employee, one more we will create. Let's say newspaper. That's also a kind of marketing. Newspaper head. So this is from database. I'm inserting the data because I didn't created the API for doing the CRUD operation of department and the designation. Okay. Now let's see the API. So if you check this API, test endpoint, get department. So see, we have create in department, we have two departments. So see, those are coming. Now we have one more API, get designation by the department ID. So let's say department ID is 2. I need to have the department ID. I need to see the designation which are in the department 2, test endpoint. See, coming all from our marketing. If I pass 1, I will get the designation from the sales. See, in the sales, we just had 2 designation. So this API call we need to integrate. But if you see the UI, this is dependent dropdown. If we select the department, then only we need to get the designation. So on the page load, we just need to call the department. Fine. So for this, where it is, yeah. So here we need to integrate the API call response. Now here I'm going to explain pipe. So normally what we can do, normally a get API we will store it into a normal variable, and that variable we will bind it over here using ng for or @for. But instead of, we can make use of the async pipe. Fine. Now let's first create the service. I'm not going to create another service, but you can create also. So in the single service only I'm creating get all departments round bracket. This API call function doesn't need any parameter. So return this dot http dot get method. Now, so our URL is this. Now here you can see, this is how we concatenated. This is normal concatenation. But instead of doing this, you start using template literal. So template literal will be like this. So here dollar this dot API URL, then your method name. What will be your method name? Let's get it from the URL. First, get department. So this is our method name. So this will go over here. Fine. So this is instead of joining both the variable like this, you can, this is more readable and more developer friendly way to write it. Okay. So we have created first function. Let's create second function also. That will be get designation by department ID. Okay. So this function will have a parameter ID colon number. Instead of ID, let's make it more meaningful, department ID. Fine. Now the second API call. So if you see the second API call, it should be like this. So let's copy this and we need to pass the query parameter over here. Now over here after one should be dynamic. So again, dollar curly bracket, and whatever the department ID you get, that you will pass it over here. So we have created our two API call function, whatever we are going to need. Now, so in the employee component, first we need to, on the page load, we just need department. Fine. So I'm going to use async pipe. So first let's import an async pipe. Now here we have to create an observable. So that will be department list dollar. So whenever you create an observable type of data, now make sure you add a dollar. Either you are creating subject, behavior subject, or a simple observable also. Make sure you add a dollar. So that's not a rule, but as a good programming practice, we follow it. So when you are joining a company, you are going to see a code like this is equal to what? Sorry, colon observable. What type of data we are going to store? Department array. So let's create an interface of that. So where it is, this is the response we are going to get. So let's create an interface of it. So while creating for the employee model, we created class. Now inside this, for holding the data of department, we will create, instead of class, we will create export interface. Now, whenever you create an interface, make sure you add an I. Again, it's not mandatory, but it's a good programming practice because everyone will be able to understand, yeah, this is an interface. And if it is without any I, so we can understand like it's a class. Fine. This is what we follow when we work in an industrial project. Now, so here, these are the things. This will have a data type number. And this will have a data type string. Just like this, we will need one more interface that is for designation. I'm sure like you won't be able to do it because I'm not skipping anything, everything I'm covering. Okay. So if you do the same thing, you will be able to complete this project just like me. Fine. Let's get the object of. So in designation, we have three fields: designation ID. Then we have department ID as a foreign key. And then designation name. Fine. So we have created two instances. Now in the employee service, we know what type of data we are going to return. So over here, colon observable. What type of data we are going to return? I department array we are going to return. So that's why array. And same thing we have to provide over here also. And here we are going to return observable of I designation, and that to array, right? Now same thing we have to add it over here also. This is your at least expected standard API call function. You should have a proper return type over here also. Okay. Now, so in employee count component, what type of data we are going to store in this department list? So I department array. Let's initialize this. Okay. So we have initialized our, what do we say? Observable. Now I will use constructor, and in this constructor, I will assign department list is equal to this dot employee service dot, what you will assign this particular function to this observable. Now in this observable, we are going to get the data, whatever this API call is going to return. Now this we can directly, instead of subscribing into the component, we can directly subscribe into the HTML. So over here, Here I will use star ng for, and here I will use @for. So if you are going to use star ng for, you need to import it ng for. Now on this element star ng for, let department of our dollar symbol, then a sync pipe. Okay. Now here on the value, you need to bind our value as a property binding. So that will be department dot. See, it is coming. Department ID, we need to bind it over here. And while displaying, we will show department name. So DEPT dot department name. Fine. Let's just save everything and let's check if we are able to show the department. See, sales and marketing are coming. But we need one more placeholder also. Let's have a simple placeholder. Select department. Okay. But why it is not getting selected? Because in department ID, I think we are initializing with 0. So instead of number, let's keep it string only, and we will make it as empty. So now it should get selected. See, okay. So we are getting the department. Now, once we change the department, then we have to call the designation of that particular department. So on change of it, so here we will write round bracket change event, get designation. Let's create this function. Now from this function, we are going to call our second function. So this dot employee service dot second function is get designation by department ID. And this function needs the selected department ID. So selected department ID is nothing but for that dropdown, we have binded employee object. So employee object dot department ID dot subscribe round bracket result colon. What type of data we are going to get? I department array. Why it is saying error? Okay, string employee and that. So instead of this, let's make it string. Why it is saying like this? Let me return something else. Dot subscribe. What type of data we are going to get, that we have to specify. I designation array. Okay. Now, whatever the response we are going to get once that department change, we are going to call the designation of that particular department that we need to store into a normal variable. So designation list colon. What type of data? I designation array. Let's initialize with empty. So in this variable, we are going to store the response. So this dot I designation list is equal to res. Fine. So this function, wait, not this. Yeah, get designation. So get designation function we are calling on the dropdown change. Now, over here, we have used ng for. This is the old way. New way is we can make use of @for loop. So this is like normal for loop, whatever you know. This is what we call control flow statement. This is we got from Angular 17. Okay. So, I'm covering everything, the older version and the newer version. So the guys who are working in the older version, those will be also familiar, and these are the new things. So you will get to know like what new things we have. Now, so here we need to iterate it. Select designation and here square bracket. So item dot designation ID, you will bind it over here. And here we will show designation name. Fine. Let's just save and check if we are able to get the dependent dropdown. So by default, we don't have anything over here. Once I select sales, see, sale lead. Once I select marketing, see, so dependent dropdown, whatever the parent department we select related. Let me show you the API call also. And I didn't show you network call. If I select marketing, see, API call is going with department ID 2. We got department with the 2. If I change to sales, see, department ID 1. Clear? So this is dependent dropdown. Now on click of save, we can test our employee form creation. So on the button click, we are adding it. And here we are making the API call also. Let me just debug this. Just a quick tip. If you are new, right? Make sure whenever you are in practice or whenever you are working on any task, make sure you debug all the code properly. It's no harm, but remember while pushing the code, you have to remove the debugger. Either you can add a debugger over here or in the console also you can add. Whatever compatible, just do that. The best way over in the sources, you can add it. Now, let's try to create Chetan Zogi, chetan@gmail.com. One more thing, these APIs are free. Everyone is going to use it. So don't mention your original email ID and original phone over here. I'm multiple time I'm saying this, but people are again and again putting real numbers over there, right? So make sure, be mature. Don't provide your original mobile number. Okay. Just provide a dummy mobile number. No? Now, mail. See, these are grouped. If I'm selecting, other is getting deselected. Date of joining, let's say 1st March was it. Sale, and he is the sale manager. Employee type, let's say contract. Salary, let's say 20,000. Now let's add a debugger. So in sources also you can press Control P and new employee form. You can open this particular file, and from here also you can add a debugger like this. Okay. Now on click of save, you see our function got called. Use your mouse now. Hover on the variables and everything. See, we got the data, whatever we filled. In department ID, you can see 1 and 2 we got. We selected label, but in the value we binded that ID, right? So that's why we got 1 and 2 ID over here. Let's continue. Employee created, right? So see, API call was success and we got the employee created. Now let's go to the get API and let's see if API data is created or not. Test. See, data is there. So whatever the record we created, that is coming. Employee ID is 1. That's primary key. So auto increment it will do. Now we have created the employee. So next thing we can show the employee into our another component. So that is employee list. So let me just close all this. Now in employee list component, we have to show the list. Okay. Now here in previous component, we have done the, what do we say? Make use of the async pipe. Here I will do the normal way. So first in employee service, we have to create the API call function. So here that will be get all employees. Here we need to specify the method name. So our method name is get employees. Now you can see this method name and everything. This is kind of a static. So instead of writing this, now it should come from your constant file. Okay. I guess like I have created multiple videos. How do we set up the photo structure? There I have already covered, and in almost all the project video I cover it. But here I'm skipping it because I have so many things again to cover. But instead of writing this as hard coded, it should come from a constant file. So make sure you create a constant file and there you can put it. And here you will use constant dot that particular key name. Fine. Now, so we have created our API call function. Now here on the page load of this employee list component, we have to integrate our get API call. So here we will implement lifecycle event that is on in it. So this is our, once the component is properly initialized, then this event will trigger. So we need to write ng on in it. Again, we need to inject our employee service. So emp service inject employee service. Fine. Then we will create a respective function get employee this dot employee service dot get all employees. This is the function API call. Subscribe round bracket result. What type of data we are going to get? Employee array. So employee class we have already created square. But I think we didn't specify the data type from the function. So that's why it is giving error. So here also, instead of department, see the copy paste. Make sure you change it. Okay. Now, so whatever the data we get, that we need to store into a variable. So employee list colon, what type of model? Employee model array. Like this. Whatever the data we get, that we will store into this variable. Fine. And this function we need to call on the page load. So once the component initialized, this function will get called. And this variable we are going to bind to our form. Now, So in employee list, we have to show the whatever the employees created. There are two ways. Either you can use of the Bootstrap card, or you can make use of the table, right? Based on your project need, your project UI structure, we go for, sometimes we show the data into the card, sometimes we use table. But I just want to keep things simple, so I will be using table only. Now we need that row structure. So let's copy that row structure from over here. Let's copy, paste. I'm copy pasting, but you should not. If you are a fresher, make sure you write everything, because in the machine test, you cannot copy paste. Someone might be looking into you, right? So you should have a habit of writing everything basic at least by yourself. Fine. Now inside this card body, let's change the title, employee list portal. Now inside this card body, we are going to have a table. For table, let's add a class that will be table. Bootstrap classes only, table hyphen bordered table. One more, that striped class we will add. Fine. Here we will have our T head first. In T head, we are going to have TR, TH, serial number, right? Then TH, let me just copy paste. Let's see what data we are getting from the API call. So see, we are getting so much of data, but it's not required that whatever you get from the API call, everything you need to showcase. It's not like that. Whatever you feel, so limit in the table, we have to show the limited field. If user want to see everything, then we have a edit or the detail button. There we will show it. So for now, we can show name, full name, email, something we will show. Fine. So let's say we will show the name, phone number, email ID we will show, and joining date we will show. Here I can explain the date also. Then we will have an action button. Let's show one more thing. What was it? We can show employee type as well. Fine. So this is our T head. After that, we need T body. Now inside T body, TR is going to be repeated. So I will use control plus statement. So at the rate for, on which variable we are going to iterate? Employee list. So whole TR we need to iterate. So over here, this TR will go inside the curly bracket. So whole TR will iterate. Then we need TD. Now in first TD, we have to show the index. So we will use $index, but indexing will start from 0. So we have to increment it by 1 so that it will start from 1. Then we need TD, curly bracket, round bracket. So item dot. So this is going to be common. So let me just copy paste this. Now here we can show name. Then we have phone, email, joining date, then type. Let's show the designation also and the department also. And that we will show something different, department. So after this, what we will have, department. Okay. Now you see, in Gate API, we are getting department name and the designation name. While saving, we pass department ID and the designation ID. But in RISP, in Gate API, I have added a join with the board table, and that's because we are getting the department name. So instead of using here, you can see we are using the employee model, but instead of that, we should use another reference. That will be, we will create an interface, because in our list response, we have two extra field, that is employee, and we don't have department ID and the designation ID. So what data you send to the employee create API can be different, and in get API, you can get some different, right? So export interface employee list. Fine. So these are common thing we have. What we don't have is department ID and the designation ID. And instead of that, we have department name and the designation name. So let's copy. Fine. Fine. Now this type of data I'm going to get. So in employee service also, we need to change the return type over here. And then here also we can change it. Let's update the import. Fine. Now in the HTML, here you can say department name is correct. After that, I will add a BR tag and then I will showcase the designation name also, item dot designation name. Okay. Now at the last, we will have a TD button. Inside that TD, we will have two buttons, edit and the delete. So class BTN success, we will say edit. Just like this, we will have one more button for the delete. So that will be danger class. Let's save all and let's check if we are able to show the list in the employee page. Let's go to the employee list. Something is breaking. Let's see if API call is going. So API call is going. We are getting the response also, but that response is not available over here. Why? Let's save it again properly. API call is success. We are getting the proper array also. Why it is not iterating into the HTML? At the rate for loop. Let's try to print this. What data we are getting over here? Dot length. 0. How come? Okay, so here you can see we didn't assign whatever the response, right? So is equal to response. Okay. Whatever the response we didn't assign it, no? Now you can see data is coming. Now let's remove that print what we did. This is how you debug. Okay. Now here you can see joining date is like showing timing and everything. So here we can make use of the date pipe. So let's import a date pipe. In older version, if we have to use any date pipe, now you don't have to import anything. But in standalone component, you have to import it. So joining date pipe. Then I can pass the parameter. Let's say dd hyphen mmm hyphen yy. Let's save. Now you can see it is showing proper. If you need the full month name, you just have to pass 4m. It will show the full month name. Got it? So this is how we are able to create. Let's test the whole thing now. This is the first record we created. Let's create another record. Rahul @gmail.com. Phone 9999990099. Something dummy. Mail. Date of joining. Let's say 5th of March. Belongs to the marketing. Insta lead. Is permanent. Salary is 23,000. Let's save. Employees created. If we go to the list, you can see record is coming. So we are able to create the employee. We are able to get the employee. Next thing we should be able to update the record and delete. So first I will complete the delete because that's easy. Then we will complete the edit. Now, again, we have to go back to the API. So this is the API. So if you see this API, we need to pass the ID over here. Okay. So if I pass 1 over here, execute. So why it is breaking? Let's me check what is wrong. Delete. What it is saying 4 not 3. What's the employee ID we have got? Let's check the employee ID. Let's reload. To delete, we need to pass the employee ID. 1 and 2 only. Why API is not working? Forbidden. Why forbidden? Let me check the API code. So we are trying to delete the employee, remove and save changes. That's it. Nothing specific is there. Why it is saying forbidden? Okay, first let's complete the edit part. Then I will check the API for the delete, why it's not working. Now, so on click of edit, we have to navigate this particular record we need to open into this form. So on click of edit, we have to navigate to this employee form with the URL, which record you want to open. Okay, because for form, we have a different page. So from list, once we click on the edit, we have to navigate to the employee form, but with the ID, which employee you want to open, right? First, you will open the form, na? Then you will edit, correct? So on click of edit, you have to navigate to the employee form with the ID. So now, again, we have to change the routing. Or just to keep this thing simple, what I will do, I will create one more route. We can modify this route also with the query parameter, but I'm skipping it. I'm keeping it simple. If you know, you have to do like that. Edit employee. But when we are going to hit this particular route with the ID, so $: ID. This is the parameterized route. Okay. Now on click of edit, we have to navigate on this particular route. So in employee list, we have this edit button. So click on edit. While editing, we need to pass the employee ID. So item dot employee ID. So current for loop employee ID we are passing. Let's create this function. Now from .ts we have to navigate. So we have to inject our router service. Router is equal to inject. What we are going to inject? Our router service. Fine. Now here this dot router dot navigate by URL, and our URL will be slash. Our route name is this edit employee, and then slash we need to pass the ID. So while calling this function from the HTML, we are passing the employee ID. So we have to catch it over here. ID number, whatever the ID we get, that we will pass it over here. Let's test it if we are able to navigate. So on click of edit, you can see, no, we got page not found URL. Do we need slash? Yeah. So slash first, then colon. Let's go back. If I click on edit, see your employee form, and we are navigated with two. Again, if I click on edit, see on whatever the record we click, that is by that we are able to navigate. And for new employee, we already had that. So this is also working fine, because for one component, we have two different routes, one with the parameter, one without the parameter, one for creating new employee, one for editing the existing employee. Fine. Now, when we navigate with the ID, we need to read this data. Now in the URL, we have ID. So whatever the ID we open, that record we need to populate first. So for that, we have one more API. That is this API, get employee by ID. So if you pass one over here, in response, you will get particular wait, why it is saying, why these APIs are not working? I'm passing one. Okay, in the URL, it is something garbage data it is going. Say percent. So this should be your URL. So make sure you integrate this URL. You can see employee get method, and after that, whatever the ID you need to open. So this is what you need to integrate. Let's try like this. Slash ID equal to. No, it is not working like that. So directly without parameter, you can pass ID like this. Okay. So this is your edit URL. So now this you need to call on the page load. Now in the employee form, whenever you are navigating with the ID, you have this ID. Now you need to read this ID in the employee form component. So let's close this. Now in our employee form component, you need to read the query parameter. So for that, you need to inject activated route service. To read the query parameter data, inject activated route. Then in constructor, what I will do, I will subscribe to the parameter dot params dot subscribe. We get object type of data, so that's why I'm writing any. Fine. Now we need ID over here. Edit employee ID, data type number, by default initialize with 0. Whatever the ID we get, that we need to catch it over here. So this dot edit employee ID is equal to res dot whatever the parameter name you said while declaring loud, that's ID. So you will get ID over here. Let's add a debugger. Let me show you how does it look. Let's reload. See, you got the object, and in the object, whatever the parameter we can have multiple parameter. That's why we get route data as a parameter. So this is an intro question. What type of data we get in when we subscribe to the parameter? We get object, and in that, whatever the key value pair data, how many parameters you have, like that you can read it. So in this variable, we are storing the current, whatever the data we have it over here, that ID we are storing it over here. Now you need to make this API call. Sorry, this. So here we will say get employee by ID. Now in service, we need to create one function. So just like this, but now we are going to get single instance of employees. So instead of this, single instance of employee, get employee by ID. We will need a parameter over here. That parameter we will pass it along with the API. After that, if you see the URL, how URL was, after this, you just need to pass the ID. So over here, whatever the ID you get, that you will pass it over here, like this only. Fine. Now this function, wait, not like this, dollar curly bracket ID. Now this function you need to call over here. So this dot employee service dot get employee by ID, and you need to pass this particular variable over here as a parameter. Dot subscribe. Now whatever the data, single object you are going to get. So that's why employee, where you will store to your object, because that's what binded to your form. Fine. Now this function you need to call once you read the data in subscribe. And here also again you can add a check. If employee ID is not equal to 0, then only you will make the API call. Fine. Let's save and check what it is saying property hit. It didn't save this. Let's save it. Let's add a debugger over here. Let's add a debugger over here. Continue. Continue. So we got ID. So that ID we are storing into a variable. This is not equal to 0. So it will go inside. And you see in result, we got a single object. Once I continue, see that record got populated. Again, if I click on edit, see. Okay. But here what we need to do, see, department is coming, but designation is not coming. But if you check the API response, we are getting the designation ID also. Let's reload. But what is happening is, see, if you check this API response, designation ID we got, but this designation data we are not calling. Means on the change of it, we are calling the data of this. So for now, what we can do, once you get the employee data, so over here, you have to call this particular API function, so that particular whatever the parent department ID is there, that we will pass it over here and you will get the designation, and that particular designation will get selected. See, now it got selected. So this extra thing you need to do because this is a dependent dropdown. Fine. Okay. Now, so we need to on click of save. Now instead of save, we should show the update button. So if you are in the update mode, you have the employee ID. So you will copy paste this button, and here you will write @ if statement. This is control flow statement. So employee object dot employee ID. So if employee ID is equal to 0, we have to show our save employee button. This is simple like ngif. Okay, those who guys from the older version, @ and this is control flow statement. Here we will have update button. Update. on update, because for update we have a different API call. Just like save, I will have an update also. Let's check the API. Do we have a different URL or what? Yeah, we have a different URL, update employee. So just like create employee, we need one more function for update. So I'm just copy pasting now. Okay. Over here. Just instead of post, it will be put, because this is my put method. Let's make it use small. Fine. Now here, I will just copy this piece of code over here. Instead of create, it will be update. Remaining things are same. Just the message name will change. Employee updated. Let's quickly save and check if update is happening. But date of joining is not binding, because we are getting date and this default date picker, we need a proper format, year, date, and YY. Somewhere I have done this code. Let me find it where I have done it. I think in goal planner only I have done it. Let me get that function to create that proper date. Yes, this function. So this function, I will put it over here. And once we get the data, so this dot employee object dot date of joining is equal to this dot. I need to pass this. And what I will pass? Employee object dot date of joining only. Let's save and check. See, now date is selected proper. So you need to format it properly. So you can see we are getting the complete date. From that, we are extracting year, then month, and the date. Then we are returning a proper year hyphen month hyphen date. Then it will get selected. Okay. So this is just with the normal input type date. If you are using Prime Engine or any date picker library, you don't have to do it. Now, let's say Rahul Tyagi, I'm giving a surname. Let's check the API call also going correctly or not. So on click of update, we should see a put API call. API error. Let's see what is the API error. It's saying 403. Why it is saying 403? Update employee put. For update and delete, it is saying forbidden. Okay, so now I got it, because this is the new server I have used. Inside that on server, I need to remove the restriction of put and update, put and delete. Okay, but see, that thing I cannot do right now. I need to contact the support team. They will be doing it, because I don't have the server details. They have it, but this is the same thing. This is just an API error, but once the video is live, you will be able to do it. Okay, that's why for the delete also we were getting forbidden now, because on the server where I have hosted this API, there I need to make the change. Code is proper. Once I resolve that, once I remove that restriction from my server, it will be working properly. Okay. So consider like update is happening, but just like API call is not giving the proper response. Just like that, we need to do the delete part. Now, when I click on the delete, we need to integrate the delete API call. So what was that API call? Like this. Let me get the URL. So once I click on delete, you can see here also we are getting that forbidden. So once I make the server changes, then it will start working. Now, this is the API call we need to make. Now, so again, we have to go to the employee list. Now, first, in HTML, we have this delete function. So to the API call, we need to pass the ID only. So click on delete. We have to pass the ID. So item dot employee ID we will pass. Let's create this function. Now on click of delete, we cannot directly integrate the API call. First, we need to show that pop-up. Are you sure want to delete or not? So that we can show like this by using confirm box. Here we can show, are you sure want to delete? If user click on OK, we will get true over here. So if this is true, then we will make our API call. So this dot employee service. We didn't write the API call. Let's quickly write the API call function. delete employee by ID. So we will get the parameter over here, ID. Okay. Now instead of get, it will be delete method. And here URL will be this. Let's copy. Again, we won't be able to delete because that server issue is there. Now here, we just need to pass the dynamic ID. Okay. Now this function, we need to call it over here. Delete employee by ID. While calling this function, we are passing ID, so that we need to catch it. Okay. This ID, we will pass it over here. Then your subscribe logic. What it is saying. Okay, that's string. I don't remember like what type of data I'm going to get from the response. So that's why I'm going with any. Okay. Now here we will say alert box. Employee. Deleted success. Once employee is deleted success, you need to again call your get API call so that latest record will be visible inside the table. Okay. This is all you need to do for a machine test. So you can see almost 1.5 hours we normally need. It should be less because I'm speaking, so I need some extra time. But if you are alone do it, you are not going to speak, you can quickly copy paste and complete the code, correct? So hardly for doing an 2 component or 3 component CRUD application at 1 hour is max. That should be your speed. Okay. Again, sorry, like if you delete and the update API was not working, I need to change the server configuration of my API server. I will do that. By the time you will see this video, you will be able to do the proper integration. But code, no change in the code. Same code will work, whatever we did. Okay. Fine. So that's it. I hope this video was helpful to the older version people also who are working currently with the older version and those who are learning. Obviously, you need to understand the older version also because most of the projects are with the older version and new things means standalone. Coming project, let's say some company started new project right now. So they might go with the newer version with the standalone too. Fine. Again, in the video description, like I have a WhatsApp communities. There are like so many live sessions I take. So just to get a notification of that, you can join that. So whenever I post a message, you can join that live notification and you can reach out to me also with any questions you have. Either it's any interview related, if you are stuck anywhere, if you need advice, anything, right? So you can just contact me whenever I get time. I get back to you. Just message me. Don't call me. Okay. So that's it. If you are new, please do subscribe, like my videos, and help me to grow my channel. Thank you.